This essay is the result of a thought path that begins with an intuitive rejection. The Ruliad, the brilliant concept of all possible calculations that is central to Wolfram's model, cannot be the foundation of reality. It is a horizon of rounded infinity, a static museum of everything that could have been, but not the living, breathing, causal process that we experience. At the same time, while IT possesses the correct intuition, consciousness is integrated information. It lacks an ontological foundation. It tells us what consciousness is, but not what reality is. Here, a synthesis is proposed that fulfills both promises by eliminating the weaknesses of both theories. It postulates a reality that is not based on an infinite Platonic realm, but on a small, universal, reliable, and active rule. This single rule began with its own minimal input, and with every update since, creates a more complex causal structure. That structure is the basis of everything, of physics, of life, and of consciousness. And because the foundation is reliable, an unexpected perspective opens up. The possibility of leaving suffering, an accidental evolutionary byproduct, behind us and constructing a state of infinitely stackable happiness. This is not a story of a heaven descending upon us, but a story of a workshop we have inherited, in which we must build the cathedral ourselves. Stephen Wolfram's magnum opus, A New Kind of Science and the Later Physics Project, articulate a seductive dream. Replace the complex equations of relativity theory and quantum mechanics with something more primitive. A network of discrete elements, a hypergraph, rewritten according to simple rules. From this dynamic of local updates, the claim goes, emerge the seemingly continuous space-time and all the laws of nature. It is a model of pure algorithmic causality. The ultimate consequence of this thinking is the Ruliad. When one applies all possible rules in all possible ways, in all possible orders, one reaches a theoretical limit, a single mathematical object that is the entangled limit of all possible calculations. The Ruliad is the set of all coherent worlds, all mathematical structures, all logically possible histories. Our universe is merely a specific path that we, as bounded observers, traverse through this infinite space. It is a beautiful idea, but precisely in that beauty lies an existential problem. It presupposes the existence of a rounded infinity. The Ruliad is complete and static outside of time. But the world in which we live is not finished. It is radically unfinished, an open process from one state to the next. Moreover, an entity that encompasses all possible causality loses the essence of causality itself. True cause and effect power is about excluding alternatives, about making a specific distinction. The Ruliad, in which everything possible has already taken place, loses the internal distinction, the surprise, the irreversible history. It is an abstract formalism, not a reality. Therefore, the Ruliad must yield to a more fundamental and, paradoxically enough, more earthly concept, the universal rule. This rule is not a description of all possible rules, but the only real, active, dynamic procedure. We can imagine that this rule began with its own input, a minimal initial hypergraph, a seed of being, the beginning of the Big Bang. Since then, in an endless cascade of discrete steps, it has repeatedly taken its output as new input. Each update transformed the structure in a deterministic, consistent manner. This reliability is the first and most important promise of the universe. The rule does not falter. There are no exceptions, no magical interventions from the outside.